You are addicted to becoming, and that addiction is the reason you are still stuck. Not your laziness, not your circumstances, not the people who wronged you, your obsession with fixing yourself. That is what is keeping you exactly where you are. I know that sounds insane. I know everything you've been told points in the opposite direction. Keep improving, keep grinding, keep becoming. But here is the question. Nobody in the self-improvement world has ever had the courage to ask you, what if the fixing is the problem? What if every book, every habit, every cold shower, every new version of yourself you've tried to build? What if all of it has been making the wound deeper, not smaller? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you cannot be unseen. The wound beneath the work. Think about why you actually started. Not the goal you told people, the real reason, the thing that happened before the first book, before the first gym session, before the first motivational video. For most men, it was one of three moments. She left, or she never chose you, or you saw yourself clearly one day and felt something you didn't want to feel. And out of that moment, that wound, came the decision to improve, which felt like strength, which looked like strength, which everyone around you called strength. But here is what was actually happening. You took the belief that you were not enough, and instead of confronting it, you started building on top of it. And you cannot build your way out of a belief. You can only build on top of it. And everything you build on top of, I am not enough, carries that foundation into everything it touches. Jung called this compensation. The psyche's way of constructing an impressive exterior to avoid examining a damaged interior. The compensating man builds an empire and feels hollow at the center of it, because the center, the wound, was never touched. It was buried under achievement after achievement after achievement, and buried wounds do not disappear, they grow in the dark. The industry that profits from your pain. Now I want to show you something darker. The nice guy, the man we talked about in our earlier videos, he performs kindness from desperation. He seeks her approval because he cannot generate his own. The self-improvement addict is the same man, except instead of seeking her approval, he is seeking his own. Same wound, same logic, same belief that value must be earned rather than recognized. Think about it with Machiavelli's clarity. If you ever actually felt enough, completely, unconditionally, without another book or another habit or another transformation, you would stop buying, you would stop clicking, you would stop consuming. Their survival depends entirely on your belief that you are not yet there. Machiavelli wrote that the most effective way to control people is not through force, it is through hope. Keep them believing the promised land is coming. Keep them just dissatisfied enough to keep moving. Keep them just hopeful enough not to stop. The self-improvement industry has executed this with surgical precision. It took your most intimate wound, I am not enough, and packaged it as motivation, sold it back to you at full price, and you have been paying, not just with money, with years. There are two kinds of men who pursue growth. From the outside, identical, same habits, same discipline, same results. On paper, inside, completely different creatures. The first man improves from deficit, from fear. His discipline is driven by the terror of returning to who he was, of being seen as he actually is, of the stillness that might force him to sit with himself. His achievements never satisfy him. There is always a next thing, always another level that will finally make him feel worthy. The goalpost moves every time he reaches it, because the goalpost was never about the goal. It was about escaping the wound. The second man improves from surplus, from curiosity, not because where he is isn't enough, but because expansion genuinely interests him. His achievements satisfy him completely, and then naturally generate interest in what's next. Not desperation, curiosity. The difference between those two words is the difference in between those two men. Fear-based discipline has a ceiling. The moment the fear subsides, the moment things get comfortable, the discipline collapses. Every man he does has lived this cycle. Marcus Aurelius, a man who had achieved everything Rome could offer, wrote in his private journal, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Not in his achievements, not in his discipline, not in the next conquest, in his own soul, as it already was." Here is the only question that matters. If you achieved everything on your list, the body, the money, the status, the woman, would you finally feel enough, or would there be a new list? Answer that, honestly, not the answer you want to give, the true one. Because if there would be a new list, and for most men, there always is, then you are not improving. You are medicating. And medication manages symptoms. It does not cure the disease. The disease is the belief that you need to become something other than what you already are in order to deserve the life you want. That belief is a lie, not a motivational lie, a structural one, and no amount of achievement can dismantle a structural lie. Only confronting it directly can do that. This is what Jung meant by integrating the shadow, not suppressing the wound through productivity, not burying it under discipline, but turning and facing it, recognizing that the part of you that believes it is not enough has never been the truth about you. It has only ever been a story told to you by people who were also running from their own wounds. The final truth. Here is what changes when a man stops running. Not his habits, not his discipline. His foundation changes. The same actions, the same work, the same pursuit of growth now come from a completely different place. The man who trains because he hates his body is always one comfortable week away from stopping. The man who trains because he respects his body never needs external motivation to continue. The man who works obsessively to prove his worth is always one failure away from collapse. The man who works because the work itself matters to him is unshakable. This is Machiavelli's settled prince. The man whose identity does not require validation from his court, from his enemies, from the woman who left, from the version of himself he hasn't become yet. To remain intact, you cannot build that man through self-improvement. You can only become him by stopping long enough to realize he was already there, beneath the fixing, beneath the striving, beneath every version of yourself. You've tried to construct. The self-improvement industry sold you a map to a place. You never left. And the darkest truth of all? You already knew that. You just kept moving, so you wouldn't have to stop and feel it. Now you've stopped. What happens next is entirely up to you. If something in this video made you uncomfortable, don't reach for the next thing. To fix it, sit with it. That discomfort is the beginning of the real work. The next video goes deeper into the shadow. You know where to find it.